Hello, today we are going to start with the chapter of End of Bipolarity. Now, what is the meaning of bipolarity is the two poles. In the previous video, we have discussed what is a Cold War. Cold War, you mean that there were two countries that were involved and the world as if was partitioned into two power blocks. One is the Western bloc and the other is the Eastern bloc. Now, this bipolarity ended and there started unipolarity. That means bipolarity ended because of the disintegration of the USSR or Russia, which was promoting communism, and only USA was left on the list. So USA, through the United Nations and other organization, exercised its unipolarism and put countries into risks that even suffered today at their hands because of their unipolar decisions. To start off with, you can see this is a picture of the Berlin Wall, which divided the countries into two parts. Now you will write in the comment section which are the two countries. Obviously, Berlin Wall is consisting of East Berlin and West Berlin. Now you can see people are making a hole here. Okay, because people's love for freedom has not went. All the leaders' animosity has led to this crisis, but people's love and freedom, democracy has not been died. So, Berlin Wall was this. You can see the pic. I can zoom in. But Berlin Wall, as is in 1989. Okay, it stood for 28 long years because Berlin was an arena of Cold War between the US and the USSR. Now, to an overview of the chapter, see the Berlin Wall, which was toppled by the people in 1989. This led to the disintegration and collapse of the Second World. That is, we have told now that the first world is the USA and its allies, the second world is Russia, USSR and its allies, and the third world are the NAM countries. So, collapse of the Second World marked the end of the Cold War. Now that Soviet bloc replaced the communist governments and people wanted democracy to some extent after the change of leaders that caused new economic reconstruction for Russia, and ultimately it caused its disintegration. Now, what's India's relation to this? We will learn. Now, first, to give you a basic structure, who is Vladimir Lenin? Was the founder of the Bolshevik Communist Party, and the Russian Revolution that took place in 1917, where after which the proletarian dictatorship was established. He was the founder head of the USSR during this time, and he was a believer in Marxism. All communists believe in Marxism, and he wanted to build a international communist society. Now, what is this Soviet system? Soviet system is mainly the communist system. Now, what are the features of it? It is based on socialism and it is opposed to capitalism. It wants to establish an egalitarian society where resources will be owned by the collectively by the people. It wanted to abolish the institution of private property too, and in doing so there was an economy that would be controlled by the state. Otherwise, free market forces or capitalism always leads to inequalities in the society because it gives freedom in the hands of the people. Now, after the Second World War, the East European countries that had been liberated from the Soviet Union came under the fascist forces. The political and economic systems were modeled after the USSR. Now, they became the socialist group. I have told you they based their things on the ideals of socialism. Now, USSR was the leader of this bloc only. And now the Soviet Union became a great power after the Second World War. The Soviet economy was more developed than the rest of the world except for the US, because there was a scramble for resources, scramble for becoming a nuclear power because the Cold War was waging on. Now, what did USSR had? Complex communication system. Here, it not only refers to the connections with the allies, but the development of the infrastructure, especially roads, and there also development of the industries. You can see that oil, iron, steel, these are heavy industries. These are made and set up and controlled by the government only as per the socialist or Soviet system. Now it was an efficient system. Now had every consumer produced everything from cars to pens, and their quality was not equal to the capitalist countries. Now everything is in state control. There is also a apathy on the part of the bureaucracy or officials to develop new ideas because incentives were not there. But this were not there. Initially it had helped them, but after a while it became useless to work because people were getting the same salary. So it was decreasing their capacity because the work became sluggish. And now there was no unemployment, there was state ownership, and everybody got to control them, and there was equality. So I have told you that there are officials and the bureaucratic system. So there was a slow bureaucratic system, so there was lack of democracy because government control everything. Okay, there was dissent in the jokes and cartoons. We were not allowed to joke upon any leader. Now there was also this one party system. Okay, and they were unaccountable to the people because if they did something wrong, they were unaccountable. That means the people's democracy had been harmed hugely. Now there, although on paper Russia was one of the 15 republics that constituted the USSR, and Russia dominated everything, and the other regions felt neglected. So in Russia, Moscow only the capital was there. Other regions, such a huge empire, so one capital was only there, that was only focused upon and developed. So other regions felt like they are discriminated. Now the Soviet Union lagged behind the West in technology and infrastructure. Obviously, when democracy is there, when people's initiatives and good works are being rewarded, they grow to a good extent. Now they are able to satisfy themselves. Now, though wages continued to grow, technology fell, there was food shortage, and in 1970s this model was seen as a failure. Now come the Mikhail Gorbachev, who became the general secretary. As we say, as leaders change the country to changes to some extent. Now he wanted to reform this system. He wanted that the West is developed currently, but we too wanted to develop. So they wanted to have good relations with the West because trade was an instrument now for the war, and they wanted to not only import or export, they wanted to keep good relations with the rest of the world. Now the people in the East European countries started to protest. Now the protest began because we have seen how democracy was suppressed. Unlike in the past, the Soviet Union did not intervene and the communist regimes collapsed. Okay, you can see here Joseph Stalin. His 5-year plans are famous till date, and India Nehru too adopted this plan, 5-year plans for the consolidation of the economy. So here are some of the features of his plans. Let us see them. And industrialization, which means he was such favored such an extent of industrialization that he made people work, forced them to work. Okay, and collectivization of agriculture means you bring a lot of land collected in the agriculture, then you use the equipments, because small land holdings per farmer creates tensions, and it doesn't create an opportunity for the farmers to use the resources. Okay, so collectivization is important, but forcing or coercion was a mark of the extreme communism. And now the great terror of 1930s was also there. It was authoritarian in functioning. Okay, now there was a banning of factionalism in the party, so that there can be no different opinions but opinion of the proletarian dictator, that is Joseph Stalin. Now a coup took place, which means coup means a revolution took place in 1991, which was encouraged by communist hardliners. People tasted freedom and they did not like the authoritarian rule of the Communist Party. Now Boris Yeltsin was the national hero and of the Russian Republic. There was a shift from Soviet center to the republics. That means people now wanted to create their own states and republics and not under the control of USSR anymore. Now the Central Asian politics not asked for independence, but they wanted to remain with Soviet Federation. And the Central Asian republics, they were not telling that we will leave your companion of the USSR, but we will remain, but our needs are to be done. Now in December 1991, again the leadership of Yeltsin, we have seen, won a popular election. He declared that the Soviet Union was disbanded and the Communist Party was banned. So Yeltsin created this, and there was capitalism and democracy in the state, because it was now Russia now became USSR now became a republic. Now this disintegration of the republics in 1991 and this creation of the independent states was a surprise. Russia was the successor of the Soviet Union now. You can see here Nikita Khrushchev, and here leader of the Soviet Union. He denounced the style of the leadership of Stalin, and it wanted a peaceful coexistence, as we have seen in case of the Stalin, that there is a forcible collectivization and there is something called force or coercion, but she doesn't want it, and he wanted a peaceful existence with the West. And he was also responsible for suppressing the popular rebellion by mass campaigns, telling the people the right information, and also he saved the whole world from the Cuban Missile attack or crisis. And you can see that after USSR was disintegrated, Russia came into being, and Russia acquired everything that USSR had, from the UN seat to the in the all the international treaties now that were committed for the welfare of the USSR as a whole. They were now functioning for Russia only, and they got many weapons. They got the seat in the United Nations Security Council. Now, what were the reasons for the dissolving of this big empire of USSR? There was internal weaknesses, because here was a bureaucratic approach and the government's excessive control. It also led to economic stagnation and other shortages. Now Soviet economy, we have seen, was suffering from food crisis also. They were also increasing the military budget. So military budget was increased and the domestic development was stopped, so people were unhappy at home. Now there were Central Asian republics which also gave citizens the knowledge about the that we can develop ourselves as republics also. Now it was a political and psychological shock. Now we have done that it came in the political sense also. They were people, ordinary people were suffering. They wanted freedom as that of the people of the West. They wanted decentralization of power, and people were, and government was losing people's backing or support. Now Gorbachev, when he came, he said that we are going to do convert ourselves into a republican state, and we are going to do reforms that will help in our country's growth and development. Now he carried on his reforms, and but after some time, that some sections thought that he was moving too slow, and other sections thought he was moving too fast. Now people thought that democracy was dissolving. People became disillusioned, and they were not happy with their policies, with the government's policies, and not all this led to the collapse of the government. Initially, Russia, Estonia, Latvia, and all the Baltic republics, Lithuania, Ukraine, Georgia, they were disintegrating, and after some time, every other state disintegrated. Okay, and there were feelings throughout the history of the Soviet Union that the size of the and the diversity which it contained, it could always dissatisfy any section, because it was not possible for the government, especially the bureaucratic approach there, not possible for the government to know the wishes of everyone. So this diversity, and too many states were there, it was almost impossible for them to integrate for a long period of time. And you can see here the important note is, during the Cold War, many thought that the nationalist unrest would be strongest in the Central Asia republics given their religious and ethnic divergence. However, now the people all around the world, they thought that their economic backwardness and the religious differences, so many religious and ethnic groups live together, that would cause eventual dissatisfaction with the government policies. Now there will be disintegration. Now this was true to some extent, but not as yet as the Westerners thought it to be. Now ordinary people felt alienated because from the Central Asians, and also were to keep. Now there was a taxation policy, egalitarian policy, which said that there should be equal distribution of goods and services. So it caused more harm, because the regions which were prospering, they had to keep up with the price of the backward regions for only equality. So people were not happy at all. So these were some of the causes that led to the disintegration. Now you can see Mikhail Gorbachev, he was the last leader. We know he introduced perestroika. So this glasnost, which means the restructuring of the economy. Now restructuring, previously it was a state controlled economy. Now it will be both a free market economy too will be allowed. Okay, and he stopped the arms race with the US. He stopped the attempts of creation of a bipolar world too. Now he withdrew the US Soviet troops from Afghanistan and Eastern Europe, and helped in unification of Germany, which was divided as a result of the Cold War. Okay, and now you can see the timeline of the disintegration of the Soviet Union. Now as far as Mikhail Gorbachev was elected, he introduced a series of reforms. We know there was independent movement from 1988 onwards, which spread to Estonia, Latvia. These were the three states to declare their independence from the Soviet Union. And there was, in 1989, there was that people and countries were free to declare that they were not a part of the Warsaw Pact. Now Gorbachev strips the Soviet Communist Party for its monopoly on calling the Soviet parliament to permit multi-party politics. So firstly there was only the Communist Party, then came the other parties with the reforms that were made by Gorbachev. Now Ludhiana declared independence. Russia declared its independence from the Soviet Union, and Yeltsin was no longer in the Communist Party and he became the president of Russia. The Communist Party also did not wanted this, so they started a coup, abortive coup, so as to retain their power, but they failed to do so. And the three Baltic countries, you can see Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, became NATO members. Initially they were a part of USSR, but then again they became the NATO members. Now we have seen that the next is this Russia, Belarus and Belarus. This is called in that language Belarus and Ukraine. They decided to end the 1922 treaty on the creation of the USSR and establish the Commonwealth. Commonwealth means their Commonwealth games will be similar. They will have different candidates from different participants, rather from different countries, and they will play the Commonwealth games, as India and Britain are also a part of the Commonwealth games even after the independence of India. So here also in this case, when there will be independent states, already states have declared independence, but as states declare independence or they join, Russia will and other this previous states will take part in the Commonwealth Games. Now Gorbachev resigns and it was the end of the Soviet Union. And the places where there was economic prosperity, they were called the European play parts of Russia. Okay, this is an important point. What are the consequences of the disintegration of Russia? Now first of all, it meant the end of the Cold War and the dispute between the socialist and the capitalist system. Military budget had been reduced, the arms race was getting reduced, and the power relation suddenly changed. There was a creation of the unipolar system which eventually turned into a multipolar system with many powers and superpowers in the world, so that it keeps unbalanced. Now there were institutions like the World Bank and the IMF which became the advisors. They gave loans for the transition to capitalism, and there was a liberal democracy, that means more freedom to the people, freedom and free market forces, which means that prices will depend on the demand and supply. People were allowed, people were free to choose their products. And now the end of the Soviet bloc, emergence of many countries. We know the NATO did not die a death, although this Warsaw Pact was ended, and there were many new difficulties in the world starting. Now there was Boris Yeltsin, who was elected as the president of Russia, and he was the mayor of Moscow. Later he left the Communist Party and he led the protests against the Soviet regime, and he played an important role for the dissolution of the Soviet Union and the establishment of the Commonwealth of independent nations. There was he helped in the transition from communism to capitalism. Okay, and now you can see this is Russia. You will indicate on the map which is the Central Asian republics which supported this disintegration. Now we come to this consequences. We were here only, we have done. An important point is that shock therapy, which is a way in the post-communist regimes they were trying to rule out the Soviet model and establish the capitalist model. Okay, now there was something called, in some states there was the third way. First way was to eradicate the Soviet model, okay, and introduce the privatization of the state assets, and collectivization of farms by the state should be converted into agriculture and private farming. Now, third way was, all the alternate way was the state controlled capitalism. They did not believe, some states did not believe in the open or free market, because capitalism also leads to huge inequalities in the society. Okay, they started that state can also promote socialism. Now this you can see, there is you can see Russia, Kazakhstan, these were the divisions, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, Turkey, Romania, Bulgaria, okay, and Bosnia Herzegovina, Croatia, Serbia, Slovenia, Montenegro, Belarus, Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, Albania. So these were the divisions. Okay. Now, what was the shock therapy? This was a transition phase. Now, development through more trade. There was also popularization of this concept of free trade, that was opening up the economy to the world economies, and this were the, and welcome the foreign investments, because when a company comes to our land to set up a industry, our people get the benefit of employment, and as a result our economy too develops. Now this transition was a very hard one, people had to change many things. Okay, now this shock therapy, that is the transition, was not a leading into a utopia that people will get so much freedom, everything will be fine, but it is not, because in Russia the state controlled industrial system collapsed, and 19% of industries were given to the private sector companies, and they were carrying out their work through the market forces, not the government directed policies. Now it led to the disappearance of the large industries. Now this privatization has a problem, that the industries are thrown away at such price that causes loss to the country. Now privatization is not always a solution here, so it led to the decrease in the big industries, because in the big industries you require huge investments that can only be accomplished by the government, but the private companies are mainly focused into short-term profits. Okay, that's why this entire long, so-called in economics, the gestation period, they don't like it. Okay, there was black marketing started, because everything was out of the control of the government. Now Russian currency declined, inflation was more, there was food insecurity, GDP was below. Now it was below when people thought that now GDP will increase because foreign direct investment is coming, but it did not lead to that thing. And privatization, there was I told you, it leads to inequalities. Okay, that's why Marxism and is still true to some extent. Now the democratic institutions were not given a priority, because in a hurry and almost in a weak state there this disintegration happened. There were many states that had the authoritarian leaders. Not all the states enjoyed democracy, only a few states could do so. You can see the presidents of Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, they were trying to increase their tenure as presidents, and they were autocratic in nature. Now judiciary was not there, was almost not there in these countries also. Now, and their main GDP revived, the economy revived into 2000. There was export of the natural resources, there were exploration of the oil gas producer reserves, so they started manufacturing. Now what are the tensions and conflicts that led? The tensions and conflicts here are referred to within the disintegrated states of the USSR. First is Russia. There were two republics, and you can see here the Chechnya and Dagestan. Now they had a regional movements. They also wanted independence. And what did Moscow do? Moscow led a huge indiscriminate military bombings against them and against the rebellious people, and they were violating human rights, because right to protest is also a fundamental right. And for that only they adopted the Western democracy, so that people have the right to protest, right to criticize the government, right to work for their own aspiration, right to elect their own favorite government. Okay, but this did not happen. These were some blot marks. And in Central Asia, Tajikistan also, there was a civil war. In Azerbaijan also, Armenians wanted to succeed from this Azerbaijan province and join Armenia. In Georgia also, there was a civil war because they wanted two independent provinces. Now, provinces and countries are different. Provinces means you remain under the same region, but then also your defense and military is same, but you are living in different places. And country, independent country, after partition, India and Pakistan became independent country. Okay, now you can see there was instability in the life, because thus everyday civil wars were not benefiting them. Now Central Asia has also become a zone of competition, and there is now 11 after 11 September 2001, the US wanted to build the military bases in close to West Asia. Now paid all Central Asian governments to hire bases, and during their wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, because they were fighting a war with against Afghanistan and Iraq, so they wanted bases. I have told you why this unipolarism, why this allies and bases are very important for the superpowers. Now this areas, China also has interests in the Russia because of the oil resources. Now in Eastern Europe, Czechoslovakia split peacefully into Czechs and Slovaks, and there was in the Balkan republics of Yugoslavia, there was also the division of the provinces of Croatia, Bosnia Herzegovina. They were declaring independence, and there was the main reason behind their fighting was ethnic views. They were from different religion, ethnic, so their beliefs did not match, and so this led to the turmoils and the conflicts. Now there was also in Serbia there was massacre of the non-Serbians, that is also a blot, so this caused different tensions. Now we come to the post-communist countries and India's relation. India has always maintained a good relation with the communist countries, because before 1991 India had good relationships. You will see in one chapter of India USSR relations, India USA relations also. Now this Indo relations need to be repaired, because recently USSR had suffered disintegration, and you can see here something is given: Bollywood steers Uzbek passions. This you can read, this is not important, but here you can see the India and USSR relations. You can see in economics as well as in political, military, and culture. We have just prospered with each other and we had a good relationship. We see they gave assistance to us for building the steel plants in Visakhapatnam and Bharat Heavy Electricals also. Now the Soviet Union also supported the position in Kashmir. They also refrained from vetoing. They also refrained from choosing options that were against India. We know that Russia and USSR were part of the before and pre Russia and that is USSR, they were a part of the Security Council, so they gave the decisions which were in favor of India. Militarily, we received many equipments, and today too we receive them. And our culture, our writers, Indian writers, and USSR Russian writers are also famous in India. Their books are very famous, and India also has benefited because India Russia has been working on to discard the international terrorism. Okay, so this India's the access to the Central Asia and balancing its relations with China. Russia also see India is the second largest arms market for Russia. So, not only economically but also strategically, it is important. Russia came to the help rescue of India during many times when India was seeking support, and this cooperation has led to a healthy relations because on different projects on different aspects they both collaborated with each other. So with this we are ending with this chapter. Thank you for watching.